Hello everyone. I have to say it's really nice to be every year here. So it's sort of a fixed appointment. And yeah, so here we are. I cannot not mention a thing that happened a few minutes ago. My new friend Peter down in the canteen, I'm not very fluent in German, but he said in German, "Was ist Polenta?" So that was too funny. That was making my day. Okay, so I'm Francesco Puppini, and today we speak about SQL with large language models, chat with your data. Okay, so let's see. Many of you know me anyway. I'm Italian, of course, and I work in the last mile of analytics, meaning that I deliver data really to the users, and especially my mission is to enable business users, because if you think about the books of data warehousing, for example, like the one of Data Vault, they are written in a way that the user sounds like the person who is writing SQL. So it says the user will make this join. So for them, the user is the technician, you guys basically, or your team. While for me, it's really the business user, the one who does not know what a left join is, the one who doesn't know probably what a prompt is for large language models. So I always focus on business intelligence. Now, of course, is the hype, large language models. So, of course, I'm exploring the field. Actually, Övind, yeah, he said something very nice yesterday. I mean, he said, it's a new thing, so I study, and he studied a lot, and we saw how many amazing things he was sharing with us, all these processes. So LLMs are the new thing. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to become, hopefully, like him very soon. But I'm speaking about this topic because I am an expert of business intelligence, and somehow LLMs are supposed to do the thing that business intelligence was doing until now, with a different interface, but it's the things that you do for one should be the things that you do for the other. Okay, so are LLMs reliable? So the answer is maybe they will become reliable. So at the moment they are a bit funny. I asked ChatGPT a simple question: what is the Puppini bridge? Because there's a lot of material on the web about the Puppini bridge. So let's see what it says. It says, it seems like you're asking about the Puppini bridge, but there is no known landmark structure or widely recognized concept by that exact name. However, if you're referring to something else like the Puppini sisters, yes, a famous vocal trio or something similar, let me know and I will be happy to clarify. The Puppini sisters. What is that? What are the Puppini sisters even? So these are the Puppini sisters. Honestly, that's not what my book is talking about. So they actually, I mean, there's the one in the middle is a famous singer, and they are the famous trio. Actually, I'm pretending I don't know them. The one in the middle is my sister, actually. So, if you have read my book, I guess that you know that the answer of ChatGPT was not correct. But it's not about that. It was just for fun. Now we are talking about querying data, not querying images on the web. So, but another fun fact, and then I'm done with fun facts. I went to complain to my sister because I said, you are stealing my show. People Google and people like put on ChatGPT and your image appears. So I said, I don't like that. You should stop your band, and why did you steal my name? And she said, okay, wait, I founded the band like in 2006 and you wrote the book in 2020. And I said, okay, you're right. But of course we were joking, but yeah, basically I made this show, and then she invited me to be a part of the band. So basically she extended. So now the Puppini bridge and the Puppini sisters are just one thing. And they are not a trio anymore. So, and they don't let me sing basically, so basically they shut my mouth. This is the non-Puppini bridge. But anyway, today I'm not talking about the Puppini bridge, I'm talking about LLMs. And let's try to be serious for a moment. And by the way, this is a screenshot from Facebook video. So if one day you will have the slides, you can also watch the video. Okay, so question. can we chat with our database today? So now I would like to create a bit of brainstorming because it's not exactly a thing that I see working 100%. So I made this slide where I'm saying, what context should we provide to our LLM? So if we give a poor context, do I have the mouse? Yes, it works. So if we give a poor context, well, the LLM says, my friend, I have no idea. Tell me something more. But if we contextualize more, the more context we give, the more the answer is accurate. So context 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I wrote it like that in general. Can you guys tell me, in your opinion, what can be this context 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? What should we give to the LLM to get a correct answer?
Maybe your tax report. Tax reports.
Tax, you know that I did this presentation last week in London, and the first answer I had is the tax report. What's happening with you guys? Well, how?
Maybe I was studying tax revenue and.
But because you are assuming that I am asking a question about tax, right? Or?
Well, in the Czech Republic, if you are going tax report to government, it contains all sources of your income.
Okay, so the tax report, I will seriously keep it in mind because it's already 2 people who are telling me that. Any other idea? What?
Dimension attributes, country.
Dimension attributes, country. Okay. More specific, like in what form?
I would just feed lots of dimension attributes, everything related to the fact.
So a lot of dimensions, everything related to the fact. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, come on. Is it all we are? If we want the LLM to do something, Irvin, what do you think? Like, don't we need to give more? Like, more?
The largest problem is that you can't get ChatGPT to access databases directly.
Exactly. That's one of my next slides. It cannot access your data directly. Fine. So that's what we cannot do. But still, if we want to build it, let's build it. What can we give? The company name. So it can go, but they don't search live, right? So they don't go to the web to search details about the company, or do they do it?
But not for the last years.
Exactly. So if you give it, you don't have the answer like after 2 seconds. It doesn't go in real time. So company name, I don't know. I was hoping to have more ideas. Okay.
You can give it a CSV file with all the information, right?
CSV file with all the information, what? What information?
The measure and the columns you want.
Measures and columns. So basically, the tax report, measure, columns, company name. Okay, now I share with you what I think is the right thing. I haven't done too much of testing of these things. It's just a brainstorming, okay? First of all, adding the DDL. Why did no one tell me the DDL? It's the starting point. It's the structure of our data. We have all the names of the tables. We have all the names of the columns. Even before we talk about dimensions and measures, we know the column names. So how can it query a column if it doesn't know my database, how it calls that column? To me, that's obviously the starting point. And I have, I think, 10 of them. But this I was hoping to hear because it's the starting point. So what I usually hear when I'm making this brainstorming is the DDL, which tells also the data type, which is useful if it's number or text. Fine. So that definitely is useful. And then I'm saying, for example, access to your data. Well, it would help, but I do not recommend it, Irvin, so I agree with you. There are also legal implications. You cannot let AI read your data like that. You cannot do it for many reasons. Constraints. Well, no one told me constraints. So if the database has the constraints, which happens almost never, but when it has the constraints, well, we can use them. So we can say, hey, look, I know that you have a table clients and then add foreign key, client country ID, references, countries, country ID. So you are basically saying the path how 2 tables are connected together. If you say this, well, you are helping it a lot. If you should put it this way, you as a human, when you go to your client, you are asking questions. So like Irving, again, sorry, I'm quoting you a lot, but yesterday I loved your presentation. He says, you need to treat them like your new colleague, new experienced colleague who has seen a lot somewhere else, but he or she knows nothing about your company. So you have to say the data structure, you have to say a lot of things that I'm listing now, and one of them is how to join two tables, because he doesn't know at the beginning. So he or she would go to the IT asking, do you have some information? When you do a project, you can't go there and on the first day deliver. Or even you cannot deliver after 1 month if you don't ask any questions. So we need to brainstorm and think. We need to ask, to give to the context the answer to the same questions that we as humans ask when we go to do a project. So in modern databases, like Snowflake, the constraints are less and less popular. But there is another problem, even bigger. The constraints, even if they were there, they are not exactly the best. Constraints are not the same as joins, although many people think so. There are usually more constraints than joins. And in that case, the LLM has to make its own decision. The LLM is not asking, it's deciding the most probable thing. So let me give you this example. You have order headers and customers, two tables. What is the correct way to join them? I have, from the constraints, 3 options: sold to, billed to, and shipped to. They all are referenced as foreign key that references the customer ID of customers. Which one is the correct? You cannot say ahead. So when you do a project, you're asking what is the context who is asking this query, because different departments may prefer different joins. So there are 3 options, but a query of SQL can only use one at a time. So in a query, you either use the first or the second or the third. You cannot use them all at the same time. You're all watching me like if I was crazy. Does it make sense? Only one. You choose only one. So basically, what I'm saying is that the sold to maybe is relevant for the sales department, the billed to maybe for the finance department, and the shipped to for the logistics department, for example. So it depends who is asking the question. So the question depends on that, and we need somehow to pass the information, not so wide, but somehow to narrow it down and say order headers and customers, we join by sold to, because the database supports 3 foreign keys, but as a company default, we have sold to. If you think that billed to is relevant because it's a report for finance, you make a query ad hoc or something, or whatever. You need to have a method to pass this information to LLM, because you cannot let the LLM decide for you. You can, but you should not. These things can get even more complicated, because look at this. You have this scenario where all the dotted lines are somehow forbidden. So when you have, for example, additionally the table of users, if you join created by with users, then you cannot join updated by with users, because it would be not allowed by SQL. But also you cannot do this and this join. So among these 4, only one is allowed. So you really need to say what joins you want to pass. So can a user do this? No. But what we can do, and what is my proposal, and I'm being recorded, I'm happy, is that we should have a framework of interaction with LLMs where the business user is uploading a CSV, rather JSON, which is structured more into like with arrays and everything. So some metadata information, some context structured that the LLM is prepared to read. So it should have a series of key value pairs that the LLM is already been trained about. If you find these key value pairs, make this action. So this way, we structure the way we speak with the LLM, and then we guide the LLM to make the decision, the deterministic decisions that we want to pass, instead of letting the LLM decide for us. So constraints and joins are 2 different things. So I believe you should not pass the constraints, and instead you should pass the joins. So the IT department should say the joins by default are sold to with customer ID and created by of customer to user ID. This is what I believe. So it should be a company standard. Does it cover all the combinations? No. like the universal schema. Does it answer all the questions? No. What you need to do is you need to hit the largest audience. And especially you should inform the audience of what you have given to them. So if they upload this text file or JSON file, they should know, they should be explained in a business language. You are joining the orders with the customers. So I would say it in a business language. I would say when you see the sales by customer, you are seeing the sales by customer, meaning the customer that we sold to. And somehow the business user is able to connect this with that page of SAP that is an interface that they are choosing when they are implementing a customer, especially implementing an order. So we need to explain in business language to the business users that there is a default choice that was uploaded into this JSON file that will be uploaded to the LLM. Can we pass the data model picture to the LLM? Okay, good to know. I had no idea. So the LLM is able to scan the picture and understand it. Interesting. So that would be a good thing. But also here in this schema, you are seeing that there are more allowed joins than so there are more possible joins than allowed joins. Whenever you have multiple choice to do something, you need to gray out something, cancel it. So even if we pass the data model picture, I was guessing you cannot, so it's good to know. Even if you can pass the picture, you still need to pass a picture that has been cleaned up with only those chosen company standard default joins that you want to use. And then aliases and multipaths. I think you all understand sales, clients, products, suppliers, usual data, it's always there. But you have countries, okay? So if you want to see the sales by country, it can be the sales by country of the client, or it can be the sales by country of the supplier in this particular data model that you're seeing. So what you do, you do aliasing. So you, in the BI tools, you can create a clone of countries and consequently of region. And this one, you will call it countries of client. And then all the column names will be country name of client and so on. And the column names will be country name of supplier. So it is column names that make understand what's happening. But this is the BI world. So in the world of LLMs, things are actually different because LLMs don't have this thing already pre-done. So aliases are something that is downstream of a data model. You see a data model, you see it like this. So you're seeing that there are two lines converging into countries. And again, this pattern is not, I mean, it's allowed in a data model, in a drawing, whatever. But in the moment when you need to create a query out of it, you have to choose a path. So the LLM, if you are saying, if you are chatting with your database and you say, I want to see the sales by country, it cannot know. It should flip a coin. Country of what? Probably because other people have made this query in other companies. Then, okay, let's do it by country of client. But it's flipping a coin. Guys, I've done business intelligence for 24 years, and all the numbers were wrong in all the companies that I worked. And we were using deterministic systems. So now that we use LLMs that are making decisions without even telling us what they have decided, where are we going? So we need to know what we are doing. We should keep control of what's happening with an LLM. So what is the path that it is going to choose? Can it create aliases? Maybe, yeah, maybe they can do it, but that doesn't solve the problem. They need to know what the user wants to do in that particular query. LLMs don't read your brain until so far. Let's wait 5 years maybe. Okay, so definitions of measures. That's another thing that's in that list, context 1, 2, 3, and so on. And okay, I have to say Michael was talking about that. But not only the names of the measures, but the formula that is behind. And the formula that is behind must be passed in a way that is structured. If you have a JSON that says measure name, okay, it's using these 3 columns. In this case, I chose an example. I don't know how well you can read it. Quantity, price, and discount. Because this is the famous database of Snowflake, TCP/H, and they don't have a column called sales amount. So what they have these 3 columns, and you have to build a formula like, what is the sales amount? It's, okay, that's why you don't see much, but it says sum of quantity by extended price by 1 minus discount. So this is the gross revenue. How do you pass this formula? It's just a text, or it's a formula that is structured and that can be reused. So this information must be passed. What is behind the formula, not just the name of the formula. So, because of course there are simple formulas like sum of something, but the world is actually more complicated than that. So, and where do we store these definitions of measures? So, because I worked in BI and I work especially now recently in Strato, so we had microservices between the backend and the front end. We were exchanging JSONs from two departments of, it was internal, we were not opening to the users, but we were talking among departments with JSONs that were structured. So you had the measure name, and you had the formula in a way that was even reusable if you want to use that and multiply it by an exchange rate, for example. That would be a different formula, but part of it is already defined. So you want to be structured and to make things reusable. So that is my proposal, using a structured approach to make sure that we know what is behind the name. I was working in a bank in Dublin back in 2008. I think I say this story quite often. And they called us, I was in business objects team, and they asked, what is this formula, this measure portfolio value? And then I asked the formula, I asked if someone had the formula from all my colleagues of business objects. 20 people in panic. We don't know. Well, it was an asset management company, and we did not know what was the deterministic formula that was the driving criterion for portfolio managers to make decisions. We didn't know what was behind. So if we humans work that way, do we expect that AI will solve the problem? I don't think so. We have to make it happen. Definitions of dimensions. What is an employee? Every time when I'm speaking with Steve Hoberman, the publisher of several books, and he makes his lectures, he's saying so proudly, yeah, when I go to my clients, I ask in the meeting room, okay, you are 10 people, tell me what is an employee? And they all tell me different answers. Okay, fine. And do you collect these answers? Do you store them somewhere? Because I see very often the outcome of this exercise is a conceptual model with the things connected. But where do you write the 10 definitions that these 10 guys have? Where do you write them? Well, we should have had already, as humans, an infrastructure where we store this information. And now, even more, that we are talking with LLMs, we need that infrastructure that we should have already used before. In this case, this is one of the 10 definitions, I guess. Someone says, yeah, where valid equal 1, probably this is a column valid, so take only the one marked as valid, and type equals permanent. Maybe for some department, the consultants are not employees. That's true for some types of logics of headcount, internal HR, but when you have to buy the Christmas gift, you want to include all the consultants. Never happened. Never happened. But anyway, it could, yeah. And expired date is null. All the combinations of these parameters are bringing 10 different definitions. So you should give for each of these definitions a name and an explanation of what the formula is behind. So finally, I will receive a Christmas gift as well, because I've never received one. So, because I'm always a consultant. So where do we store the information? Then, table name and column name metadata. We are in Germany, so you all know what is SAP, and there are column names of 5 letters. They are not, maybe now LLMs are trained, LLMs, they know the metadata of SAP, I'm quite sure. But what if someone else had a crazy idea like SAP to give column names just of 5 letters, and it's a much smaller company, and it was not included in at the moment when the LLM was trained? How do they know? How can they know that I have a column called employees, employee name, and I decided to call it the. What do you expect from the LLM? Oh yeah, I understand that it's customer employee name, whatever. No, we have to use the metadata, pass the metadata, something that explains with a short text, and even the SQL language allows adding to each column a comment. It's ANSI SQL. You can put for each column a short comment that says means employee name, customer name, and so on. We need to use that. It's given by SQL. Let's use it. And by the way, yeah, for a client, I remember I was doing a lot of, I had a lot of pain because customer and client, okay, LLM would know about that. But how about product and part? I was in a meeting and they were saying, so with the products we should do this, and the part we should do that. I raised my hand because I am a human and I ask questions. I am a human and I ask questions. I ask, what is the difference between part and product? Ah, it's the same, Francesco. Ah, okay. It's obvious for you, but it's not obvious for me that you give two names to the same business object. People who are actually doing the ontologies and they are creating the hubs in a project, they should know. Choose one standard name, then in the meetings you can use two, but you need to be consistent. So you need to explain what things are synonym and what things are slightly different. That's important. Is a customer always a client? Most of the time, yes, but there may be companies where the grandmother is buying a gift for the child. So the grandmother is the client and the child is the customer. I don't think this is really happening in databases, but we need to explain names. We need to explain what is behind that. And does an LLM know all businesses? So it has been trained to all the businesses all the world. Okay, so I guess they know all businesses. I get that. E-commerce, people fixing bicycles. What can go wrong? So I looked. What's happening here? I looked weird businesses on Google. Edible shoes, potato parcel, hire goats. I don't know this business, but what is potato parcel? Potato parcel writes common messages on potatoes and delivers them to the recipient of your choice. Nothing says love like a potato you can't eat because it has been written on. Do you expect your LLM to understand this business and therefore making a join correctly? No. Pass this high-level description of your company so the LLM will say, thank God I am a machine, I'm not a human. Pass this description. So you pass it where? Again, the SQL, ANSI SQL has a space. When you define a table, you can add a comment, and that's a metadata that can be used. It's standard ANSI SQL, and you can pass this text that says a potato parcel delivers love to you on a potato. Then they know, the LLMs can know this information. Type of join, how much time we have? It's like 5 minutes or what? I don't. Type of join. Okay, what if I want to see the unsold products? I am a business user. I'm making a query that is telling me this product 1, 2, 3, and there is by default an inner join. Do I understand that as a business user? What if I want to see there is also product number 4 that has never been sold? How do I say, business user, how do I say, hey, wait a minute, I want to see all the products? Does it know, if you write that phrase, does it know that it should do a right join? By the way, is the right join the right way to do it? I don't think so. So all these things, I mean, you need to find a way that a business user can obtain a result when chatting with an LLM that is the desired one. It's two different wishes, and even BI tools, they are choosing randomly for you. If you compare in the BI tools, they sometimes do the full join, sometimes they do the left join. So it's really not deterministic even now. And then overall filters. You see how many things I'm bringing. So many. So this is one of the last. So I work in the retail division of a company, and I ask, show me the sales amount by year. It happened to me. I was working in Levi's in Brussels, and the people will get this. So they will get to select the sum of sales group by year. Yeah, I forgot group by. So that's what you expect, but it should be rather this. From sales, group by, where group by also need to be added here, but where sales type equals R. Because the person who has asked you this question, they work in retail. And for them, there is not even the whole sales department. They don't care. For them, the world is retail. And so I passed this query, and they asked me how many points of sale we have. And we said 12,000. And the guy said, yeah, almost there. We have 9 shops of Levi's in the whole country. So it's a small mistake. Instead of 9, having 12,000. It's because we were also passing all the wholesale partners. So how can the LLM know that you, because you work in the retail department, you want that where sales type equals are? So we need to pass that information as a context. Okay. So, and then type 2, slowly changing dimension. How do I pass the information to the LLM? So you can do a between. It doesn't happen much, I know, but it could be one of the cases that you have a table that has slowly changing dimensions, or a satellite. You want to query a satellite of a business vault, and it needs to be able to do a between statement based on what you say. I want to see it as of that date. And finally, the fun trap. Do they understand the fun trap? So, you're laughing for the lady. This is an image I love. So, especially, how do they know how to prevent them? So, a fun suggests the idea of spreading. A fun trap makes a measure, it makes it multiple copies, so the numbers will break. That's what a fun trap is. Can LLM prevent this? I gave this SQL. This SQL, I don't know if you see it well, but the SQL that is in front of your eyes, what do you think about it? So I'm going this side. What do you think about the SQL? Is it correct? What are you saying? Tell me if this SQL is correct or not. Actually, Michael, that's a question I had for you last year. Is it correct or not?
The SQL is correct.
Syntax. And then what?
But the response will be wrong if you have more shipments for one sale.
Very good. But and how do you solve it? It's not about the join. If you do inner join, you have the same result. It only changes about the non-matching values. So I totally agree with you. That's exactly, the syntax is correct, but the semantic is wrong. Doesn't matter, because Michael, you once said, yeah, it depends what the client wants. It cannot be that a client says, I have this sales, just produce a number that is multiplied by a random and unknown factor. This will never give you correct data unless, like a clock, a broken clock also has correct time twice a day with the same probability. Of course, there will be cases where the data is correct, but it will never, almost never match the sales amount that you have in the source, because this is a fun trap. So how do you solve fun traps? Well, the way to solve this today in the industry is to query two tables separately and then group by the same thing, like in this case it would be the sales client, and then join by sales client. So this is the way how it is done. I do it differently. I found my own method. I wrote it in my book. I do the union. But LLMs, they don't know that this is wrong because it's written nowhere. If you Google fun trap, you don't find a page that explains what it is. It just says a lot of words that sound very smart, but then you don't understand anything. Take the first 10 results of fun trap, and we can see together. We will not understand one of them, except probably one, because it was a guy that I know. So let's run. If we run the SQL, we have that result, 500 and 1400, whatever. Then how do I know if it's correct? Well, the sales amount is wrong because it is a fun trap. If you run the same query without joining, that's the correct amount. So you see you're querying the same data. Data has not changed. It's just 4 rows. How can you make it wrong? Well, it's a fun trap. So the way to solve the fun trap is out of the context of this presentation. But the point is, LLMs are, in my opinion, well, that's a screenshot from ChatGPT, so it's not only my opinion. I immediately tested. ChatGPT does not recognize a fun trap because this is a screenshot that I had, not this one. This one is, as you see, is a screenshot from ChatGPT. So ChatGPT gave me the SQL that is syntactically correct, as Richard said, but semantically wrong. Okay, this is basically the conclusion. My conclusion is that we should pass to the LLMs a lot of additional information, structured. Most of this information, fortunately, can be provided by the IT department because it is independent from the specific business question. This is the driving principle also of the unified search schema. Does it answer all the questions? No, it doesn't, but it answers a lot of those questions. And it does it automatically. Like the universal schema does it automatically, also the LLM will do it automatically. The challenge is, it should also explain you some behind the scenes, because then when you want a different thing, you want a ship to, you want a build to join with customer instead of sold to, you need to find a way to understand that it has joined by sold to, and you should understand that there must be a way to do it differently, most probably manually, because I don't imagine that we arrive that far. But then, yeah, there is a choice to make. So most of the information, fortunately, can be provided, and you can upload the file. But there is a choice to make, and LLM should ask the user. So that's my big question. Do LLMs ask the user? There are two options. So which one do you want?
Only if you ask it to ask the user.
Only if you ask to ask you. That's amazing. So you should be aware that there is the risk of multiple options. Thank you. That's really helpful. So you should be aware that there is a risk of having multiple options, and say, because I know that there are multiple options, please give me the chance to decide. Does it sound like a thing that a business user would do? It's a lot of work to do. Thank you, guys. We can also do that. We do the questions at the coffee break. I don't want to impose. I can speak for 7 hours about these topics, but let's be realistic. Someone may want a coffee. I'm not offended if someone goes. I can stay here until midnight, but then I need to leave.
So any quick questions for the whole group? If that's not the case, enjoy the slightly shorter networking break.
Thank you.